you're joining this podcast today, I'm interviewing Liz, and we've just been talking. So just to let you know, 12 minutes ago, I was meant to be ready for this interview, and I'm looking for my laptop around the house. I haven't had a shower. I've literally got off my bike. This is why I've got this baggy top on that I've just shot on. I've got my cycling shorts underneath, and I find out that Gemma's got my laptop in the our offices, so I literally had to throw the kids in the car, and they're walking around our project entertaining themselves right now, so they'll love that. So I'm not going to steal your thunder. Liz, tell us who you are.
Well, that's a really good question. Thank you for having me, Stephen. It's such an honour. I absolutely loved your interview with Ellie, so I was really pleased that I'd get to actually talk to you in person. So I have been floating around property social media for about 5 years now, and it's probably quite confusing when you see me come up, because like, what on earth does she actually do? Because no one really knows. So the reason they don't know is because I've done a little bit of everything. I'd done a little bit of everything really badly. So it came like 5 years later, I actually realised, what is it that I'm good at? So I worked out that it is social media and it is people. So right now, what I am is a business networker. So I've gone away from just property. So I focus on business networking, but I am an introducer. So it's very different, not very different, but it's different from a broker. So what I do is introduce money to deals and deals to money, but money to businesses, I've got an amazing person in my clientele now who's an artist. So I find money, and I think that's like, that's where I sit in the world.
That's
and
a
luckily,
good skill to have.
Luckily, loads of people want money, so I think I'll always have a job.
Well, I always remember Warren Buffett saying, it doesn't matter how much money you've got, you'll never have enough if you're in property development.
Did he say that? That is so true. It's always a question of cash flow, that you always run out. And in one of my little things I do, because I do like little trainings for like 10 quid, I call it trainings for a tenner. The only reason I charge people a tenner is to make sure they damn well turn up, because you know what it's like when you book something and it's free, you don't turn up, do you? Exactly. So I like to
what they don't pay for.
Exactly. So I teach people to do this themselves, and cash flow is always a problem in property. Always, no matter how big you are and how successful you are, you're always going to want that money for the next deal.
Well, you're like years ahead of where from I was, because let me just rewind the clock back. So let me think. It would have been about 2014. So I'd been investing in property for about 8 years, and my portfolio just didn't grow up. It completely, the way it started off was bought my own house. It went up in value, pulled a bit of money out of that, did a couple of flips. I had this chunk of money, bought a few properties, spent them all on deposits, and then kind of went, now what do I do? And I didn't understand like recycling your money or buying below market value. I didn't understand any of that. It was just sort of like, well, I'll build up some properties and they'll be my pension. I then found ways to sort of move on. Things went up a little bit, and I'd done a few things, but my portfolio just sat for ages, not really moving, because I didn't have money. And I didn't understand that. I don't know if I was just blinkered, or maybe it's more, or people are more aware of it now because of Facebook and things like that. But I didn't even know business meetings existed. I didn't understand joint venture finance. And a lot of that stuff for me has only sort of come in the last 6 years. So for 8 years, there's a lot of this stuff I didn't know. So for you to be at that level and doing this with finance, let's say you're further ahead than where I was, that's for sure. So tell us.
It was exactly the same.
Yeah, I was going to say, so how do you get this? Where do you find your money?
Sorry.
That's what everyone wants to know. Where do you get your money from?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Where do you find it? So It started off being by accident, actually, which isn't very helpful. One of the things I talk about a lot is when you're in an area where you know there's people with money, and to be honest, I've never ever met an investor at a property networking event. It just doesn't seem to happen. Usually at property networking events, you're meeting peers, you're meeting people that can help you find deals and trades and things like that, which are equally as important, but I never found investors. So the first kind of massive person for me was by accident. And then when you start to go into that world of money, I am now, my technique is being around money, figuring out how people with money connect to society, because you're not going to find them in Lidl with the best, deference in the world. I shop at Lidl myself. You've got to be in the right places, and you've got to upgrade your network consciously. There's no good in being in the same pools of people and expecting to get, contacts with this, like a family office or wealth manager or a hard money lender. These types of people are out there, but you have to make a conscious effort to find them. And so for me, once I found one or two by accident, they introduced me to more and more and more. And what the thing that I tell people is to do it themselves. It takes a huge amount of time for people to change their mindset about money so that they're confident enough to go into those circles, hold their own. And I always say, look for the worst dressed person in the room because they've got the most money. 100%. Yeah. The ones that look like crap are like, no offense, they won't even watch, they don't watch Facebook, so I'm safe. The worst dressed people, but genuinely I find money through word of mouth, through getting with the right people in kind of a more sort of logical way. LinkedIn's amazing, but I usually say to people, start with LinkedIn, go and make friends with your local family offices and wealth managers. See, I was like you, Steve. I didn't actually have a clue that all of this wealth was around me. It was in my town. I had no idea. Only when I started looking up terms like wealth manager did I realize there's a wealth manager literally at the end of my street, and I'd walk past it every single day, and it was like a shitty little office on top of a cafe, and you just wouldn't even dream it was there. And just as I became aware of the terms you have to use, which property people don't really talk about so much, I just walked in there, and you know what? They're delighted to see you. People like you, people like the people that work with you, people that have got deals and opportunities, they want to hear from you. So actually, it's a lot easier than it sounds. And one thing leads to another. It's very much a dominoes thing. They've also got, how can I put it? They like to one-up each other. So if you're doing a deal with a particular person, they'll tell their mate and go, oh, I'm doing this. And then that person will go behind their back and contact you. So they start finding me. And it is incredible how it's grown. It has literally ballooned in the last, I would say, probably the last 8 months. It's just gone mental. So the short answer to that is they are everywhere. They're absolutely everywhere. But what you want to do is build that first 1 or 2 key relationships first and see how that grows, because it's all about relationships.
Yeah, and I say exactly the same thing. That finance is literally, I say to people, it's on your Facebook right now. Like, you've got friends, people sat there right now with a shitload of money. How do people get over that hurdle? Because the amount of people, like, they look at me and they go, oh, it's all right for you, you're a property trainer and you've got all of these properties. Or they look at you and they go, it's all right for you, Liz, you're confident, you're on LinkedIn, you're on Facebook, same for Ellie. How does somebody who's maybe just starting out, and what's the sort of first steps that you would say?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. I guess that's the question that I get asked the most, which is why I've kind of condensed everything into sort of one area of my life now. I focus this on like about 2 hours a week. I help people to do this. I would say very much mindset, which I know Ellie and you all, like, we've talked about and have talked about online. First of all, before you even go and approach these people, you've got to get really comfortable with big numbers, because one of the things, the biggest problems with going from being the person that wants the money to being the person that gets the money is having complete confidence in what you do. So your offering has to be very secure, and you have to be really sure of your numbers. We've all seen that Dragon's Den cringy moment when they're like, you know, they don't know their numbers, and Deborah Meaden's I was going to say something horrible, but I'm sure she wouldn't watch this, but she's quite sharp, and she'll say, so how much profit are you making? And they just can't do it. Yeah. So before, yeah, it's really horrible. It makes you feel for them. But before you even start thinking about approaching people, if you're new, make sure you know your numbers really well. The other bit of advice I'd say is make sure you know a little bit about what's going on politically in the world, a little bit about alternative investments as well, because sometimes the people that you're going to be approaching may not even be interested in property. They may want to know how property performs compared to stocks and shares or gold or cryptocurrency, and these are the things I talk about. And I'm not saying become an expert in them, but just be aware that you have to be able to hold a conversation, because most people are either rich because they've earned it and they're smart, or they've been given it and they're not necessarily as smart, but they do know property is a good investment. So first of all, make sure you do your homework. And then I would say there's two ways of doing it. If you've got a deal right now and you're looking to approach these people, as I said, you've got to not fear those big numbers. Get really comfortable in talking millions. I wouldn't even dream of doing a deal with less than about, probably purchase price would need to be at least £1 million before I talk to my contacts, because they want the kind of returns. They're only going to work with you if you can provide them something they couldn't get elsewhere from their normal financial advisor or their normal investment strategy. So I say, think big, really, really know your numbers, know your deal. You need to make sure that you've got security. The one thing that they want is to know that their money is secure. So make sure that you're going to probably give them first charge or have some sort of backup. When you've got all that in place, then you have confidence in what you're saying. Then I would say, start looking at the people. I'd say, like you said, they are there on Facebook. And actually some people on Facebook contacted me today, which are kind of secret wealthy people, which I never knew before. I would say if you're using Facebook, it's got a very different feel to other social media. It's got a much more personalized feel. I would start talking about what you do and build up your credibility before you even dare asking for money, because as we know, they've got FCA rules and stuff that stop you doing that. If you're saying about what you're doing and you're talking about another investor investing in your deal, you can actually talk a little bit about it with freedom. If you're on LinkedIn, as I said before, the #1 search term for your local area is wealth manager. Look up wealth managers, family office and hard money lenders. Get those people in your local area into your world, and they will then introduce you to other people. The biggest deals that we have found money for have come through 1 or 2 connections on. So once you get interest from a particular brokerage, it all kind of flows. So I know that's not a very straight answer, but I'd say before even thinking about approaching people, do make sure you know your staff really, really well, because there's nothing like a black mark against your name. They won't talk to you ever again.
And what happens if someone's really nervous? So it's like the first time, because the amount of people that say to me, I've got opportunity. I had a guy the other day who said he had an opportunity and he just completely cocked it up. Have you got any sort of tips on that of...
Yeah, see, I say this all the time. I really hate talking on the phone. I absolutely detest it. When someone phones me, I always think I've done something wrong. You know, like when you see a police car go past and you think you've done a crime and you haven't, or you're going out of a shop and you think the alarm's going to go off. That's me. I always feel like I've done something wrong. So I'm actually quite a nervous, anxious person. So when you're faced with the reality of talking to someone that's very wealthy and powerful, pick your communication tool, I guess. If you're someone like me, genuinely, and I don't think this is probably advice that other people would give, is that I probably do a lot on email at first, because I can then tone it to a much more professional level than I think I would be able to in person, because I would get nervous when I was beginning. I would be very professional, be very respectful, but at the same time, if you're not talking to the kind of big gun, make sure you talk to the person that connects you to the big gun, the PA whoever's working with them with the same reverence and the same respect, because if they perform in a way that brings some business and brings some opportunity to whoever they're dealing with, it looks good on them as well. So maybe not go for the kind of big scary people at first. When you're building up your confidence, maybe go for people like, for example, I can't give any names, but when I was first looking at my local area for my kind of local rich list, which is another tip that I say, find your local rich list. You literally put in your, you know, it's in Google, you just stick in Google Warwick rich list, and I'll literally find the top 10 people, and funnily enough, they're all developers usually. They're developers or bankers, or it's all the same sorts of people. Find them, research their company, and then figure out who works with them, who works under them. And those people are the ones you go and speak to, because they're kind of much more on your level. So you don't have to have that feeling of nerves. And if you screw up, it's like, it's not in front of, you know, the dragons in Dragon's Den. It's actually really, really hard to get that confidence, and I can't tell you how many times I've screwed up and my partner screwed up. It does come with experience. And I would also say, don't be frightened of failing, and don't be frightened of having that nervous energy, because that nervous energy means you care, you know, it means you care, and it means you're going to get better. And as I said, choose your medium. Now, Zoom meetings are great, but as I said, I'm doing a little meeting tonight, and I'm telling everyone in the meeting, in my networking meeting, you've all got to introduce yourselves. And I know some bums are clenching tonight because they've told me, they're like, I don't want to talk about me. But if you do it in a safe space, which I'm sure they can do if they come and be with you, or be with, you know, other people that can provide that practice ground for them, I would say that's a really, really good place to start. And once you start doing live videos on Facebook, and you start, you know, start going from like sweaty hands to doing it in your pajamas, you'll be amazed at how your confidence grows.
Yeah. So when did you sort of start putting yourself out on Facebook and that?
That was 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I was unknown, completely unknown. I used to get 1 or 2 likes. You know, I put my heart and soul into a post. Wouldn't dare do a live video. No way. God, no. That took me about 3 years to do a live video, and I was shitting myself. I was sweating. I was just disgusting. And it was ridiculous, because all I was talking about was what I was doing. But it was 5 years ago. And do you know why I did it? Out of sheer stubbornness and bloody mindedness, because I went along to a property event, and I won't say the name of the people, and they said to me, if you don't sign up, like, it's like 20 grand. And my ex-husband said to me, I was like, yeah, I'll sign up. They said, you're going to be a star in property, you need to sign up. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna be a star. My ex-husband said, get lost, basically. So I didn't get, and as I walked out of the room, they said, you're never going to ever find a property network like us, so just forget it. And that one comment made me go onto Facebook, and I started joining all the groups, put in property this, property that, and I joined hundreds of groups. And I started by going in and observing. So I observed for probably about 6 months. I was looking at, who are the people that know what they're talking about? Who are the people that are answering the queries? Who are the people that are making intelligent posts? And then I started asking questions, or even copying. That sounds like I'm like being fraudulent there. Copying some of their answers, so I sound like I know what the hell I'm talking about. Yeah. But in another group. So I was getting engagement, and slowly but surely, it did take me about 8 months. Started getting feedback, started finding mutual friends. And the more you give on social media, the more you get. But that's the same with anything in life, isn't it? And I just give so much support and love and interest. And it's all genuine. I do genuinely mean it. But what I didn't expect was to get it all back at first. And then I was like, shit, I'm getting all this back. And now I put posts up, which don't really take much time. And there's 140 likes on a Facebook post where I was telling people to get lost, basically. But yeah. I think people understand my humour now, that I'm quite, but it's scary. I would honestly say, start engaging first and observing. Be a giver, don't be a taker.
Yeah, no, I absolutely back that 100%. It's exactly what I say to people. Just get yourself out there, get yourself on, put them posts out. And one thing that I see with yourself and Ellie, what's happened here? Let me just click that off. One thing I see with yourself and Ellie is you're very open, honest. You're just yourself. And is that something you would advise other people, or is that just your personality?
Oh, do you know, it's taken me a while to get here. I was told, some of this is going to be quite controversial because some people listening might recognise themselves. When I first got into this, I kind of did a lot of guru hanging on. You know, I found a guru, hung on, found another one, hung on, thinking that, you know, somehow that was going to work for me. But what happened was that I was changing my personality to suit the guru, whoever I was with at the time and associated with at the time. And as time went on, I started to feel miserable because I wasn't being myself. And I tried to suit what other people wanted me to be. And you know what? I didn't make any money in those days. Nothing, absolutely nothing, because I wasn't being authentic. And I really do believe in the law of attraction. And I believe what was happening there was that my energy wasn't being kind of recycled back to me. It was going out and it wasn't coming back in because I wasn't actually giving myself any respect. So it did take some time. And then it got to a point where I thought, I've got nothing else to lose here. I'm not making any strides forward by being like a groupie. Fuck it, because I am quite vulgar and I am quite straight talking and I am quite stubborn, and all of those things, and opinionated, and all of those things I felt were not professional. Now I come from investment banking. I come from I've worked in Canary Wharf and I've lived there, and that's my history. I am a corporate person and I was professional for a long time, and it made me miserable. And I truly believe it's because I wasn't being myself. And the minute I let go of all of those sort of fears, because I think the most scary thing in life is being seen for who you really are. But that's also the most glorious thing in life, is being seen for who you are and it being accepted. So when I started coming out, and I kind of did it in a little bit of a kind of like up yours way to people. I'm like, I'm just being myself. I don't care if we all fail. And bizarrely, people stuck with me. And then it grew and grew and grew. And then I thought, there's something in this. And then I started attracting people into my life like Ellie, who does exactly the same. And like Alice Williams. And these people come into my life now that have that same vibration of just truly be yourself. Don't worry about what other people say you need to be. And professionalism can be redefined, because I used to think professionalism meant income. Not necessarily. Oftentimes it doesn't.
But I think that's one of the biggest things that holds people back, is that being too concerned what people think about them. For me, that is one of the biggest barriers people have in life. Yeah.
It's huge, isn't it? And I know we're socially conditioned from such a young age to be good little boys and girls, you know, and be nice. And I was once told, if you've got, sorry, this is a bit rude, someone said to me, if you've got tits and an arse, you'll always make money. And and you're constantly bombarded with these messages of be better and be this and be that. You never caught, you know, you do get the odd, you know, Oprah Winfrey quote or something, but it never really goes in, because we're much more frightened of embracing our true, raw, dirty self, because we feel like it's going to be rejected. And that is a huge, huge barrier. And I think, going back to what you were saying about approaching people with money, remember, people with money and potential investors, people that have made their money, have a different level of confidence in this world, because they don't need anyone. Because they don't need anyone for money, they have a license to be themselves a little bit more. Not all of them. I've said many times over, I've said a lot of them just stay far. There's the creeps out there. But when you are financially secure, you do kind of walk around with a bit more of a swagger. You do kind of go, you know, if you park your car and you get a parking ticket, well, how much are these days? You have a sense of, I don't need you. And because of that, they end up being themselves. And some are twats. but some are extremely, extremely inspiring and amazing people. So you kind of almost have to fast forward to when you're that person and do it now, and you'll start attracting them. And it really does work. Yeah.
I think something like you were saying there, it's just triggered a conversation that I had about an hour ago with my dad. He's a massive saver, and I look at the other end of the spectrum of where can I make. So I don't like. He's told me a story for an hour about how he's just gone from his Virgin Media and Sky have got saved him 20 quid a month, and now he's gone back to Virgin and he's cancelling the contract because they're going to match it. And I think I just couldn't be asked, like, for 200 quid to do all that shit. Like, for me, my philosophy's always been on where can I make it rather than I can save it. I don't know if I'm unusual in that aspect, or what your sort of take is on that.
Oh no, I completely agree with you. I've got two sides. My mum and dad were quite wealthy when I was like really young. Before my dad was a bit of a party animal, and he worked on the oil rigs, and he had a lot of money, and he had a woman in every port. He won't mind me saying this because I know he won't even fucking watch this ever. But he used to have he had such a party lifestyle, and we had a lot of money coming in. My mum was all draped in furs and gold, and then he just, because he's very much a I'm doing what I like kind of man, he had 4 kids, and he goes, oh, you know what, can't bother to work anymore, I'm going to be a postman. And so he went from all that money, so we had all that money coming in, to absolutely nothing. Like, obviously a postman's wage is low, supporting 4 kids. And so my life kind of was like, we were partying in the Ritz, and then we had nothing. And I think that really does sort of shape you, especially at that formative age. So I know how it feels to have a lot, and I know how it feels to have nothing. So I really struggle, because I'm like you, I can't be bothered to look at what's cheapest and then I'll walk past a charity shop and then say, oh, I'm going to spend an hour in here looking for like something special. I call it a treasure shop. So I see it from both points of view, and I think when you start seeing abundance everywhere and thinking, I always say, if you want to meet high net worth individuals, you need to start thinking like a high net worth individual, because you need to go where they are. And you're not going to go where they are if you're sitting there counting your coupons and stuff. You need to go into the nice shops, go into your diamond shops and talk to the brokers there, go into your luxury item shops. Even if you can't afford it, just get in that energy. Have you heard of the wealth temples in India? I don't know if you've heard of them. It's kind of an to me. So who told me this? Somebody brilliant told me. I'm sure there's someone on Facebook told me about it. They said that the people that make the most money in the world, so like Bill Gates and Steve Jobs and all these people, at some point in their lives went over to India, and they've got these wealth temples, and they're literally temples that are kind of gold plated, with encrusted with jewels and diamonds and precious metals, and people would go into the temples and worship whatever deity it was that kind of is the deity of abundance. I can't remember off the top of my head, but you get these people from like the Western world coming in to absorb the energy of abundance, because truly, when you think about it in an energetic way, in a quantum physics way, and I'm not going to bore you with that, there is infinite energy. So there's enough food on this planet, there's enough money on this planet for us all, there's enough of everything. When you start thinking like that, all of those other habits where you're saving, of course you need to save and be sensible, but where you're, I guess, more penny pinching or having a knot in your stomach when you pay a little bit more for something, all of those need to kind of vanish and dissolve, because then when you start getting into the actual energy of wealth and abundance, magical stuff happens. It really does. And if it's good enough for Steve Gates, I'll put them both together. Steve Gates, the love child of Steve Jobs and Bill Gates. If it's good enough for them, it's good enough for me. And of course we can't all bugger off to India, but what we can do is stick on, go and Google some wealth temples, go and have a look at them, stick on some meditation and abundance stuff, and start really feeling what would it be like to be actually limitless when it comes to money, wealth, freedom, and time, really, which is the only real true wealth.
Yeah, totally. And that's, again, my philosophy of that abundance mindset. I put a post out, in fact, I'm going to read it to you. put this into one of my closed groups this morning, so let me have a look. It's like a little sort of rant.
I love a rant. That's a really good place to start on Facebook.
Let's have a look. Here we go. I'll tell you what, I've got a question for you why I'm looking for this. What I've realised is I'm recording this and I haven't split the screen. So does that mean now when I play this back, it's going to be in the same as what it is now? Or can...
I don't know, because I can see both of us. Can you see?
I can change that, but I didn't when I was recording it, so I don't know now if it's...
Oh, well, worst case scenario, you have to do it again. You have to have all of my... I don't really do anything these days, so I can very happily do it again.
So I was making a point here.
Yeah.
And I was basically talking about abundance mindset and people like with this, oh, there's no investors, there's no properties, all this kind of shit.
Yeah.
And this is what I wrote. I basically said, I had a question yesterday and it was from a mate and it went somewhat like this. Steve, I get what you teach and I understand it. It's all good. But in 1 month, I've only found one property that stacks up. My reply, wow, you have been busy. Well done, mate. You have put 25 million offers in just 1 month. I'm surprised there's only one house in 25 million in the UK that was willing to take an offer that stacked though. Tough times, huh?
Yeah. Do you know what? This week, I don't know if you probably haven't seen my posts. I had I think it was Thursday or something. I must have analysed, I'm not even exaggerating, maybe 500, 600, 700 deals I couldn't even count. And a lot of them were PD, permitted development deals, but they're mainly development deals that I deal with. Last week, we got a phone call from someone saying, do you want this 5 million quid or not? He said, if you want it, I want 5 deals that stack in 24 hours. And we're like, are you fucking joking? He said, 5 development deals in London in 24 hours. And Andy and me were just like, oh my God. But you know what? We found him. Because if you have to, you do it. If you have to, you do it. It's as simple as that. So I totally agree with you. When your back's against a wall is the most amazing place to be creative. And even though lockdown's been absolutely horrific for a lot of people, and obviously it's been devastating for some people, having your back against the wall, having our back, we had 50 million quid pulled from us in March 26th. So, you know, we were looking to retire. Well, it weren't 50 million in our pockets, it was 50 million pounds worth of deals, but you know, commission on that, you'd be all right. That was pulled. And I'm like, well, I'm not eating beans on toast for another year. So we made at least triple that. We've done triple that back since lockdown because you do it, because you have to. So I agree with you. You know what? The only thing that stops you is a sense of urgency. Yeah. You can absolutely anything if you have to. And sometimes you just need a massive kick up the arse. Yeah. And I think you're probably good at that.
Yeah.
I'm terrible at that. I'm such a soft touch. Don't ever come to me for accountability.
Yeah.
I'll just straighten them. But no, I agree with you. If you do it, if you want it, you'll get it. It's as simple as that. And I look at some of your posts and what you're doing physically with your body as well. That's something I really am lacking on. And I think, fucking hell, you can do it, actually. You can. But it's all up here, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it's like I said, there's, I think there is 25 million homes in the UK. But everyone just targets Rightmove and they look for that one deal that's below market value on. For me, I always say every house is for sale. Every house in the UK is for sale. Because I guarantee you now, and I say to people, if I offered you £1 million quid for your house right now, would you take it?
Exactly.
Exactly. So everything has a price. And it's just putting yourself out there more in all areas and stop doing that traditional, what I used to do when I started out, get a deposit, save it, buy a fairly new build, wait for the market to go up. Yeah. It's just so dated, traditional thinking.
It is.
I think things are just so more, I think people are being more creative now. I do. You can see now, and as you said, like copying off people. I tell people the smartest thing you can do in business is go copy off someone who's
Yes.
already doing it.
Yes, 100%. Exactly. Why reinvent the wheel? You know, these things, these strategies, and these. It's not rocket science. The most important thing in this game, particularly, is mental resilience, because you're going to get knocked back, you're going to get screwed over, you're going to get stung over and over again. And if you give up at the first hurdle, or if you don't feel that it's possible, and you're not visualizing and having your eye on the prize all the time. I'm so lucky to be living with somebody I work with and actually have that joint mentality. Whereas, no offense to my ex-husband, again, he won't see this. He is very much, you know, nice job, no real need to make any money. He had a good income, but at the same time he's working 60 hours a week, and I'm saying we could do that, but like this, without support, you're looked at like you're bloody mental. And a lot of families can put people off taking that next step. And even my own sisters and my brother told them a million times, why aren't you buying assets? Why aren't you recycling your cash? Why aren't you doing this? Oh no, I'd rather put it into an extension and just wait for the market to rise. And I think you can force the market to rise, your market. And I agree, everything's got a price. Every person's got a price. So it's a case of just doing it and being around people that have that kind of powerful, fierce mindset that I'm going to get what I want. And I know other people have got it. So I know that it's possible. It's the best thing in the world is to be around people that have already done it. I think that's the most invaluable thing of all.
How do you get over the hurdle? And this maybe hasn't been a barrier for you, but one of the big things I hear people say is when they find investors, family members or whatever, they're then scared to take the money off them in case they lose it or do something wrong.
Yeah, I totally understand that. Done it myself. I've done it myself, and it's been done to me. That is again, that's a big mental hurdle, and I think when you've got that emotional tie to that loan, it can be terrifying. Again, going back to what I said earlier, you've got to really have confidence in yourself. You've got to think about this. People have been doing this for forever.
Yeah.
The process is quite formulaic. I'm not a psychic, but I don't believe our interest rates are going to go to the point that they've ever been. Even though our government's a shambles, you know, we're still not as much of a shambles as we were. You'd hope that we'd had some evolution of civilization, that we understand from our mistakes. So I do believe our economy is kind of underlyingly strong. So you've got an asset to back up their loan as well, remember, so you're backing up with something. And especially when you've got a bank involved, or a senior debt provider involved, they're going to check that deal out as well. So you've got a deal that stacks, because they wouldn't lend on it if it didn't stack. You've got hopefully you've got other people around you, like yourself and like other professionals that have done this, that are saying, you know, I'll hold your hand a bit, but you know, let's just get going with it. When you put all of that on balance, you're doing something that has been done over and over and over again. So you kind of, in a way, it's criminal not to help your family make more money. I've offered it to my family and friends many times, and they look at me like, are you mental? We're not giving you my money. Actually, my mum and dad did in the end. But they lost out, you know, they lost out. My mum and dad like doubled or tripled. I don't even know how much anymore. I can't remember. But it's very much about just learning that what you're doing isn't brand new. It feels like a risk because it's brand new to you, but it's not brand new. And a lot of us in this industry have done it over and over again. So be around those success stories. Make sure that you are around people that are going to be positive and not negative. Bring that positive energy in yourself. And remember, you're dealing with an asset-backed loan here. This is not just you're not just opening an ice cream parlor or something. This is an asset-backed loan. So worst case scenario, you sell the damn asset and give them their money back.
Yeah, some really, really good points you made there. How would somebody make sure that they can really secure that money? What sort of steps do they need to take so One, for their own peace of mind, that they're not, if they've got so much money off a family member, that they feel better themselves. But also that family member or friend knows their money's secure. What sort of deals do they need to be finding? What do they need to be looking for, would you say?
Yeah, I would say I would go for the most simple kind of deals, the simple kinds of flips that have been done. I mean, I like flips. I'm not great at. I've tried every strategy and made every mistake you can possibly imagine. I wouldn't start doing something complicated and sexy. If you've never done an HMO before, maybe don't do that. I would say start off with something that's very straightforward, like a flip or just a renovation of a simple property. Or maybe turning a normal property to an HMO or something like that, something that's formulaic, that's been done over and over and over again. Find an area that is strong in that market, which I'm sure these days, as more and more people are doing these kinds of strategies, and don't overcomplicate the process. Go easy at first. If you only make £5,000, more than that, even if you break even, build that confidence up slowly in yourself and your investor. So I'd go for those kind of vanilla type deals. As I said, there's nothing nicer than a flip. Even if a flip makes 10 grand and you have to split it half and half, it's still a good deal. You're still going to beat the bank by doing that. So I would say keep it simple, keep it in a tight timeline as well. What I would say, don't start looking at development deals that take 18 months, 2 years, stuff like that. If you want to do brokerage, that's a different story. But if you want to do, if you're borrowing money from your family and friends, you want to keep it really, really simple and nothing too, structural, ambitious. Just play it safe, make little amounts of money. But the golden rule is just don't lose money, isn't it? Yeah. So make sure that you've secured it. Also, have a look at your own financial situation as well. Make sure that, worst case scenario, it doesn't make as much as you thought it would. In my experience, and what I would do, I would honour my agreement with my investor and take less. So just keep in mind, if you got any personal assets, they're your family or your friends. So maybe you want to offer them a personal guarantee, something along those lines, or maybe ask your mum for your inheritance early or something like that. There are always ways around it. But yeah, don't go too hard too fast. But don't let that stop you. You can do a refurb in weeks, actually.
Yeah.
And turn some money around. So it's more than possible. People do it every single day.
And I think it's just getting started sometimes, isn't it? Like people, just once you get over that first hurdle, and like when people say to me, one of the main things that, again, my sort of sarcasm is, they say, how have you bought 70 plus houses? And I say, well, have you got your own house? Yeah, just do that another 70 times.
Yes.
Like, it's the fucking same thing.
Yes. There are many places in the country, like we can't, as you said, your statistic was amazing, actually. And when there's people doing all kinds of strategies out there. You've got your rents and SA and HMOs and vanilla buy-to-lets and developments and things like that. Now, I was really shocked by the statistic of how many people owned their home outright. How many people have got unleveraged money?
Yeah.
My mum and dad have got, I don't even want to tell you how much money, and they wouldn't even dream of releasing the money. I said, release the money, I'll triple it for you. Yeah. And they just, go on. No. I'll just have to wait for my inheritance for that. But people are so scared. In this country particularly, the culture is a man or woman's house is their castle, and they're so scared of losing that, and they may put that mentality onto the buy-to-let or the next property or their portfolio, and it's a business. You've got to see it as a business. These houses you can pick up still to this day. There's a hell of a lot more houses out there that need renovation than don't. So all you've got to do is find them and make friends with your agents as well. People underestimate the power of agents. Agents are gold. They really are. I mean, a lot of them are arseholes, but a lot of them are. Yeah, estate agents. Yeah. They are so powerful. Let's just think about it. A lot of people, yes, direct to vendor, of course, that's the ideal. Off market, that's the ideal. But my God, the amount of stuff we do through agents is remarkable. Yeah. Because if you are known to them as somebody that actually comes through the money and actually does it, a lot of the best deals never go to market.
Yeah,
you know the agent, yeah, you're sorted. So really, really know your area, and yeah, don't be frightened of it. It's been going on forever, and most people have done it without training over the years gone by. Probably not in a very massively successful world, but they've still done all right because they've ridden the waves of the market. Now we've got to be a bit more strategic about it.
No, I agree, and it's. I actually had this conversation a few days ago with somebody where he said that he pissed off 2 estate agents from putting low offers in, and I said to him, "Well, look, you can do exactly the same thing. It's just how you go about it." Yeah. So for me, I advise people go speak to the estate agents, tell them you're an investor, that you can help them. Have you got any properties that you want to offload quickly? You've got cash waiting. Yeah. You'll get them same deals, but you've just gone about it a different way.
Yeah, that's perfect advice. That's absolutely perfect. I've got a friend at the moment who's creating a system that helps people to actually, helps agents to automatically systemize the kind of relationship with the investors. So she's got a pool of investors and they want to know what kind of things stack. So the agent puts in the details, find out if it stacks, and we're talking low level deals here, we're talking 50, 60, 70 grand purchases, and then the system can make an offer and the estate agent gets the answer like that. You're doing them a favor. As with any sales in the world, you solve problems. So if you talk to an agent like you're trying to hoodwink them or put in a low offer or, you know, diminish their commission, that's going to come across in a really negative way. If you're going to talk to them like, I can shift more properties, so you might be getting less commission, but you're going to get more of it, then it's like, it's a win-win. Everything has to be a win-win. So yeah, 100% agree with you. Agents love property investors, the right ones anyway.
Yeah, agree. Okay, a few other questions for you personally. What's the vision? What are you doing?
Oh my goodness, that's a brilliant question. Well, about 2 months ago, decided to retire. That was the vision.
Right.
But I thought, right, I thought, sod this for a game, soldiers. I've had enough. I don't want to talk to anyone anymore. As I said, I do suffer from anxiety, and I keep telling people I really struggle to talk to people, and I talk too much when I'm nervous. But that's kind of worked with me, so it's become a gift.
Yeah.
And my vision now is, I genuinely can't think of a better thing to do on this planet than empower other people. And I don't want to be paid a lot for it. It's not a business venture for me. It's a labour of love. So my kind of role as the kind of social media face of my partner's development company and other people, I'll always match deals up with money and money with deals because it just comes easily to me. However, in terms of my own personal vision, what I really want to do, and particularly now, is to help people become economically empowered and not feel, because I've done everything the right way. I've come through school with straight A's and a first class degree and all of this, and I was utterly miserable. And I'm not saying that's wrong, but for someone like me that wanted more out of my life than to be a kind of small cog in a big machine, now we're kind of taking our liberties and the political climate, our liberties and our freedom feels like it's being taken away from us slowly, and we're feeling like our jobs don't feel safe anymore, our houses don't feel safe, everything feels unsafe. So for me, it's even more pertinent than ever to help people sit in their own power, become who they really want to be. And I think business is an extension of who you are. So for me, my business is about empowering people because I love people and I get pleasure out of watching people grow. And I got an amazing message last night from someone that did, I'm not advertising by the way, but I just have to refer
I'll
to it.
let you do that soon anyway.
Oh yeah, no, you don't. No, it's fine, because that's, I genuinely do some somebody that took my tenner workshop, because I only charge a tenner for a workshop, and he said what a great return on investment it was, because he's just got like a deal lined up where he gets 23 grand in an introductory fee, and I'm like, oh my god. See, for me, that's the best thing in the world. So my vision is to continue being a business networker, and to grow that. And then what I really, really want is the people that are in my kind of inner circle, in my business membership little circle, I want them to all become like introducers and brokers. And then we're going to have this thing called the High Net Connect Club. So instead of having to pay thousands of pounds to go to these swanky old members clubs and pitching events, we've got a pool of high net worth clients that you can cross refer, because in the world of wealthy people, nothing is more powerful than a phone call from one of your friends saying, oh, I know someone and they can sort you out with this. That's how it works. There's no yellow pages for rich people. It's all about word of mouth. So that's my kind of vision.
Love that. Absolutely brilliant. What's the one thing you know about finance that most people might not know that they should know?
Oh, that's a really good question as well. Gosh, these are good questions. I would say what I've learned is probably a reiteration of what I said earlier. It is everywhere. It's everywhere. It's under your nose. It's in your town. When you walk down the high street tomorrow, or even go online and have a look at your local area, who's doing well? Who are your local businessmen? Who's the local solicitor firm that's got, you know, massive big offices? Who are your local accountancy? Who's your private doctor? Money is everywhere, and people with money do two things. They invest it and they spend it. There's nothing else in between. So they're spending it on pleasurable things or on necessary things, or they want to invest it and make more of it. So if you can be aware that finance is a lot easier than you think, and to actually start finding finance by upgrading your network, basically. And that's the thing I've learned, is that it's about people. And it's such an old cliche. It really is who you know, who knows you, and being a massively, you've got to be the person they trust. So money will come to you if people can trust you. So integrity and ethics has to come before what you want to get out of it. If you can get those things right, finance is a piece of cake. And it is. I've got too much, honestly, Stephen, I've been desperate. Look, I've got £7 million. I've got an investor on the phone. I can hear him right now. He's got £7 million he wants to spend now, right now. So if we can do it, and I'm nothing special, and my partner's nothing special, don't tell him that. We're nothing special. We just open our mouths. So yeah, finance is a lot easier than you think.
No, I'd agree that it sort of took me back to something when you said it's under your nose. Yeah. I remember doing an event, I think it was probably February time, earlier this year, and there was a guy sat on a table and he said, we were on about finding finance, joint venture finance and things like that. And he said, I get you've got this big list of places that you can get finance from, but I don't know anyone and I can't see how I can get finance. And I basically asked the question, I said, okay, so tell me your situation. And he basically said, well, we found out that he had lots of time, but he didn't have money. Yes. So I said, right, who's in this room right now who is the opposite? You've got no time, but you've got money to invest. And the guy next to him, fucking in the chair next to him, put his hand up in the air. And I said to him, would you work with him? He went, yeah, I've been sat with him for 2 days. He's a great guy. I went, it's fucking sat next to you.
Oh my God. It is. It's right there. All they want to know is who you are and that you're a decent person. And that can come about in a conversation that's got absolutely nothing to do with property. Absolutely nothing to do with it. One of the tips I was given a little while back as well is when you're in it can happen in property meetings, but oftentimes if it's just in a social situation, or you've taken my advice and you've buggered off to some sexy bar in Mayfair, wherever, ask people's opinions on things. Don't ask them to invest in your deal. Just say, you know, or even ask a local, like one of the people is a local business guy, he's a local developer, he's super arrogant. I hope he doesn't recognise himself. He's super arrogant. He thinks he knows everything because he's made millions of pounds. And I just speak to him and just say, oh, I'm a local, I'm starting up, I might, he's not embellishing the truth. It's almost like, that's not a word, debellishing the truth. I always understate. I always under-promise and over-deliver. No one really knows what goes on, what I actually do, and I go, you know, yeah, I'm a new person starting out, I'm in the local area, and you've done so well, flatter them a little bit. I wonder if you could help me, and could you give me your opinion on this deal? And you know what, most of the time when you ask someone's opinion on a deal, they'll go through it and go, fucking hell, that's a good deal. That's a good deal. Maybe I'll have a little bit of that. And that is a brilliant way to get people interested without you actually saying, give me your money.
Yeah, no, I love that. It's just that flipping it on its head thing again, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit cheeky, but I say to people, be cheeky. You've only got one life and you've only got one chance. I'm hoping in every incarnation I come in, I'll have some sort of deal, something to do with property. Apparently in a past life I was a gambler, so maybe that's where I'm hoping I'm going up the kind of financial evolutionary scale. But I really do believe that money is so abundant, and there's so many people out there with it that haven't got a clue what to do with it. And that's one of the final things I wanted to say about people's confidence. If they have been learning about property and they've been learning about strategy and they know how to make X amount equal Y, you are knowledgeable. Do not underestimate how much that knowledge is in the real world, because people don't know this. You can have people that have made millions of pounds. I've got one of the most powerful families in Leamington we've worked with before, and they're quite old school. And I talked to him about rent to rents, never heard of it. Talked to him about recycling their cash, never heard of it, but they own half of Leamington. So actually, you are way, way more knowledgeable and valuable than you think. So go in there with your head held high, you know.
No, I love that. I'm going to come on to that because you talked. We're gonna wrap up, and then I'll give you an opportunity to let people know where they can find you. So you talked there about reincarnation.
Yeah.
I always finish off with this particular question. I personally believe we've always been here, and we will always be here. Yeah. So my question for you is: we fast forwarding now, and it's your funeral. And your family, friends, and maybe his partner, children, or whatever at your funeral. What do you want to be remembered for?
Oh my gosh, I've actually thought about this. That's really morbid, isn't it? I think I'm a little bit psychic. Actually, I do believe in that. I believe in the eternal now as well. I believe everything that's ever happened. Don't believe in time at all. It's all here. The information is here. The only thing stopping us is information and filtering information. But that's another story. I would like to be remembered for helping other people find their true calling in life. And as I said, for me at the moment, business is an extension of, you know, my love for humanity. My expression comes through helping them make money, but helping other people make money and then helping them help other people make money is what I want to be remembered for. So I guess a very an empowering and inspiring person, but not from a power over, from a power with. You know what I mean? I want to be a person of the people, really. And I think I'm getting there now. It's taken me a long time, but I've let my ego go, and I don't really I don't get as much joy out of the luxuries of life. I get loads more joy out of watching other people realise how amazing, glorious they are, because we have all got that magnificence inside us.
Yeah, totally agree. I'm going to ask you something else now. I said that was the last one, but I'm not going to ask you something else. Just out of curiosity, this one. So are you a spiritual person then, I'm guessing?
Very, very much so. I mean, the thing that I never really admit to, but I'm going to tell you, is that I follow quite a controversial alternative medicine modality, and people ridiculed it, even though it's been going like 250 years. I trained as a homeopath when I was 21 because I basically got some treatment and it didn't make sense. Like, how did treatment for my hormonal problem heal my lungs? I had asthma all my life and it just disappeared. So then from there on, I started reading The Power of Now, which is Ellie's most hated book, and we've talked about this.
I love it.
Yeah, she hates it, and I love it. I don't know. I think it's because it's a little bit woo woo, and she's very spiritual and very powerful. But I think it's probably put in a way that's probably rubs her up the wrong way, because it's a little bit woo. But I love quantum physics. So for me, I absolutely love it. I absolutely love it. And for me, there are constant clues that we are within something much more meaningful and much more relevant to every little person's individual universe than we think. And I love waking up every day and asking the question, why am I here? And so many people have forgotten that. And I try so hard to kind of get my kids to be curious. I think curiosity is the most glorious gift, and we should never ever lose that. So I never kind of talk about my, because I am a qualified homeopath and I can help people heal themselves, but it's brought me into a world of sound therapy and light therapy. I truly believe we are these kind of vibrational, or obviously we are these vibrational beings, and other vibrations affect us. And even though we can't see it physically, it certainly does, because you all know what it feels like to be around someone with a shitty vibe. It's just, and even our language, even our, you know, when we describe the universe, you know, it's in terms of sound. And even when we, even the words like flowers, like we use the word flowers as flowers. So I use flowers to help people's energy flow. And there's little clues everywhere. So I believe we're in I'm just going to get very controversial. I believe we're in a massive, big computer program, and there's little glitches everywhere just telling us, yeah, this means more than you think it does. And the only way for all of the kind of bizarre, nonsensical, horrific things that happen in this universe, the only way that they can be okay is if it doesn't matter. If this is not all there is, if there's a bigger perspective. So yeah, I'm very spiritual. I'm always asking. I never have the answers, and I love that. I love living in that sense of wonder.
Yeah, I love that. I think we might need to do because I'm very much I can talk on that stuff all night, of that weirdness stuff. So maybe we do another one on spiritual.
Oh my God, I'd love to do one on time and space, because I've been looking into black holes recently, and white holes and time and how you can affect it. And I actually run some groups offline, secret groups, like it's not a cult or anything. We don't jump around naked. I'm sure they could if I asked. Yeah, no, I'd love to talk about that.
No, definitely. Yeah, I think just one of the things that you said there was when you say like we're inside summer. I always think of I think I read this somewhere. I always think of like ants doing their own little thing, and we're obviously too big for them to be able to see us, and they obviously think that that's it, that's the world and their kingdom. And I think we talk about planets being like hundreds of billions of light years away. For us to think that we're at the top of that pile is as crazy as the ants in
Totally. It's so arrogant, isn't it? It's so arrogant that humanity believes that. And I'm half Egyptian as well, so I have this connection with you know, ancient civilizations like Sumeria, and I won't go into. I'm scared to say some of the places, because I think the people will Google them and go, "Oh my God, what is she talking about?" I do believe that there was interference. I believe that we've had interference for a long time from other places, and I believe, as I said, I believe the only thing stopping us, even from a small level, even from this level of talking about confidence and talking to investors, to the big level of understanding the meaning of life and transversing, is that the right word? Or going past the level of death and dealing with the fear of that, dealing with the fear of the ego annihilation. The only thing stopping us is information. So information can be gained through, I believe, meditation. So I really do think that, you know, as we evolve, we gain information, and everything's information. If you look at viruses and DNA, it is coded like a computer program. So yeah, I think we're very small in the big scheme of things, but that's even more exciting.
Liz, I've absolutely loved that. You've come all dressed up, looking at millions, and I've got my baggy top on. I've still got my cycling shorts on, sweating from today's training.
I haven't shaved my legs though, so
that's all right. We can't see that. Okay, tell us where we can find you. If somebody's watching for the first time, tell us where we can find you.
Well, in ode to my dad's alive, but I like to talk about my maiden name. So So I'm Liz Baitson. So Business Networking with Baitson is my networking group. And then Bateson's Brain Dump, which is a really ugly named group that I've got as well. But I'm all over Facebook, and I've just dumped about 1,000 friends. So if anyone wants to connect with me, I'm looking for fresh connections, because I'm always looking for people that want to engage and actually want to talk to me. You know, I didn't have many friends at school, so I'm making up for it.
Love it. So they can find you on Facebook under your personal name.
Absolutely, yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks, Liz. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I'm sure we'll do another one on some weird stuff as well.
Oh my God, I can't wait. Thank you so much, Stephen. It's been lovely. Thank you.
Okay, take care.
Cheers.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.